Hi, welcome to another episode of Susie Reads. And today we're going to continue once again our adventure with witches, ghosts, and goblins. Oliver and the imp have succeeded in their quest, the first quest of 3, to get the perfect pearl for the king of the goblins. Now Polly and the imp have to go get a magnificent crown from a haunted mansion in Ghost Valley. That's where they are. Shall we read and find out about their quest? How are they going to get there? Let's get started. Chapter 10, Ghost Valley. Ghost Valley is hemmed in by mountains. Only at midday does one ever see the sun. Throughout the rest of the day, the mountains cast their long shadows across the valley. Twilight comes early and nights are long. Many years ago, a very rich man discovered the valley and built a mansion there for his new wife. No expense was spared. The house was filled with beautiful furniture, famous paintings, fine rugs from the Orient, and every comfort money could buy. The new wife went there to live. She loved the magnificent mansion, but she loved sunlight more. At last, unable to stand the shadows, one more day she ran away. Her husband closed the house and vowed never to return to the valley, which had brought him so much unhappiness. Years went by, and in time, ghosts found the deserted mansion. They loved the shadows and the long nights and the valley where no one lived. The mansion became their favorite haunting place, and it was not long until the valley became known as Ghost Valley. In the moonlight, the old ruined mansion has a strange sort of beauty. There, the ghosts have installed many treasures, and there Polly and the imp must search for the crown that was stolen from the goblins years ago. By the time Miranda's group had reached their apartment in the great palace, the imp had told them most of what had happened to Oliver and him on their quest for the pearl. "Has anyone heard of Cactus?" Miranda asked as the guard unlocked the door that led to their rooms. "No one," the imp replied. "We asked everywhere." "Then we must complete our tasks as quickly as possible and get on with our search for my lovely cat. Oh, where can she be?" Miranda dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. "And where is Ghost Valley? And how do I and the imp get there?" Polly wondered. "If only I had my broomstick." "We'd have no problem," Miranda stated. "It knows the way to Ghost Valley. I used to go to meetings there," she explained. Suddenly, Polly had an idea. "Why can't the imp sneak back to Miranda's mysterious castle and get the broomstick?" she asked. Miranda looked doubtful. "The imp doesn't know how to fly a broomstick," she said. "Miranda, dear heart," the imp began, "there is something I must tell you. 2 or 3 times while you were napping, I took your broomstick out for a solo flight. There's nothing much to it," he bragged. And so it was decided that the imp would go out into the garden and sneak past the goblin guards on duty there. Miranda, who was handy with needle and thread, remade the invisible cloak to fit the imp perfectly. He tried it on and promptly disappeared. "I do hope he comes back safely," Polly said. "I just hope he comes back at all," Miranda replied. "It would be like him to decide to go joyriding around the world on my broomstick." "The imp has changed," Oliver told them. "I think that he really wants to help us." "We'll see," Miranda said grimly. "Meanwhile, we'll tell the guard he's worn out from his adventure and has gone to bed for a long nap." Oliver made a do not disturb sign and hung it on the imp's bedroom door. Polly set to work packing for her trip. While searching the apartment, Miranda had found a small traveling bag. She was full of suggestions as to what Polly should take. Here's my crystal ball. Even though it's not working, it may come in handy. Besides, I need a new one. I've got some magic sleeping powder left, Oliver told Polly. Maybe it will work on ghosts. Miranda chattered on. Most ghosts are really very shy, you know. Be nice and friendly. Give them gifts. They love chains and things they can clank around. And they're crazy about eerie lights. Miranda pulled forth a handful of candles from her owl-shaped bag. I made these myself, and they sputter quite nicely. She searched her bag again. Here are 3 joke books that should give them some hollow, ghostly laughs. I really haven't any more room, Polly protested. By 9 o'clock, they were ready for bed. There's no point in waiting for the imp. The least we can do is get a good night's sleep. Miranda told Polly and Oliver. You both look tired. Poor dears, there are circles under your pretty eyes, and she hurried them off to bed. For a long time, the plump little witch sat by the window, peering out into the sky. I wonder, dear imp, she said to herself, did you really fly my broomstick before, or were you just pretending so that you could try to help us out? Good luck wherever you are. Broomsticks are not easy to fly. Miranda had not been in bed long and was just dozing off when a tinkle of glass breaking, followed by a rather loud splash, brought her wide awake. She hurried from her bedroom. Fortunately, the guards were still asleep. She could hear them snoring through the door. Quietly, she opened the doors leading to the garden. There, in a large fountain, firmly clutching the broomstick, sat the imp. Water from the fountain sprayed over his head. A cluster of shattered glass flowers to his right indicated that he had swooped in too low before splashing into the fountain. Are you hurt? Miranda asked. The imp smiled. Only a bit moist, he said. And I have a couple of scratches from the glass sunflowers. And the broomstick? Miranda wanted to know. Is it all right? The imp held it up triumphantly. Not a straw out of place. Miranda helped him down from the fountain. Tell me true, imp, she demanded. Had you ever flown before tonight? The imp winked at her. Brownies are very quick learners, he said. They tiptoed into the apartment. Miranda had saved some supper for him. While he ate, she bound up his scratches. Now, she told him, when he had finished eating, you must get some sleep. It's only a few hours until dawn when you and Polly must leave. The sun was just rising as Polly and the imp prepared to take off from the garden of the great palace. Oliver carried Polly's carefully packed traveling bag. Miranda held the broomstick while Polly and the imp climbed aboard. She patted the tip of the handle 3 times and recited, Fly high, fly fast, fly safe. The imp is in command. Fly wise, fly true, fly right. And remember how to land. Polly couldn't tell whether she was talking to the broomstick or the imp, but there was no time to ask. With a great whoosh, they were off. Good luck, called Oliver. Hurry back, cried Miranda. They circled the great palace and headed straight for the high mountains to the west. The imp was not as smooth a flyer as Miranda. Sometimes they shot forward at high speed and then drifted. It was as though the broomstick had a mind of its own, as was choosing whatever speed it fancied. I don't like the looks of that black cloud ahead, Polly told the imp. We'll try to dodge it, the imp replied, but the broomstick headed straight for it. All at once they were in the middle of a storm. The rain came down in torrents. Lightning flashed to the left and right of them, but the broomstick bucked on, and at length they rode out the storm. Flying was smoother now. The broomstick was now behaving itself as if it had tested them and found them to be brave flyers. An eagle flapped by and eyed them curiously. A flock of geese honked at them in alarm. On and up they sailed, over the mountains into a narrow, shady valley. Ghost Valley, the imp shouted. Look for the mansion. At last, Polly sighted it. There, she said, pointing to a huge stone house, almost as large as a castle, with the roof tumbled in at one corner and heavy vines growing over most of it. Prepare to land, the imp told her. He patted the broomstick. Make it a good one this time, he said. The broomstick swooped down and then, checking its speed gently, came to a stop on the front lawn of the mansion. Polly and the imp stared at it in wonder. The huge front door was half opened. Most of the windows were broken, but so thickly covered with cobwebs that they appeared to be patched. Shutters banged in the wind. The great stone steps leading to the porch were cracked and broken. One part of the porch had caved in. Charming little place, the imp stated, pretending a bravery he did not feel. Let's explore. Carefully, they walked up the broken steps, and at the door they paused. Anyone home? Polly called. There was no answer. The imp picked up a stick and rapped the door. May we come in? He asked. Somewhere a door creaked. They heard footsteps, but although they peered into the gloomy room, they saw no one. Suddenly, a mournful sigh filled the air around them. If you must come in, then come ahead. Whoever owned the voice was invisible. Expect to see no one until the darkness comes. Then there was nothing but silence. Polly and the imp stepped inside. The hall was long, and the end of it was lost in shadows, but an archway to their right led to a sort of sitting room. Brushing aside a curtain of cobwebs, they entered. Even in the dimness, they could see the room was impossibly dirty. Dust was everywhere. The curtains at the windows were in shreds, and mice had chewed holes in the sofas and chairs. What a dump, whispered the imp. Shall we sit here and wait? Polly asked. She felt sure that the sofa was full of mice. The imp coughed a bit and cleared his throat. Brownies hate dust and dirt, he stated. We're really very neat. Let's tidy up this room while we're waiting. It will help pass the time. They set to work, wondering all the while just who would appear when darkness came. And that is the end of chapter 10. They made it to the mansion, but we don't know what's going to happen. Shall we meet the ghosts next time? Here's our picture. See you next time on Susie Reads.